Oh, God.
And we're live.
Microsoft has really embraced this "we're not here to be cool" thing.
So I feel like on that subject, I feel like they went to the therapist and they've been talking to him for a while and they finally gotten to that stage where they've come to acceptance and now they're just trying to figure out how to move on.
Boy. It's too bad.
It's too bad. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, the Zoloft will kick in shortly.
Mm-hmm. There's got to be some good legal drugs I could take. Oh, man. Are we going to do something?
No. Let's wait until 1 o'clock because I don't know. It felt like the right thing to do. I don't know if it was the right thing to do.
Rich Woods just tweeted, "Ladies and gentlemen, my first wife."
Yeah, I saw. I saw.
So I was like, let's work on that introduction. Just, yeah.
I mean, it's not like he said the Surface Pro 3 of wives, so or the Surface RT of wives.
Just the Surface Go wife. She could do one thing at a time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Welcome to Inappropriate Joke Friday, where it's Brad and Paul edition.
Yep.
How's the? Oh, we didn't talk about this before, but I'll bring it up anyways. How's the basement, Paul?
Well, I don't know. It's coughed up some excrement in the middle of my basement floor. So we called the plumber, who has still not gotten back to us. We haven't yet had the flood that we had last time that destroyed our carpet.
Mm-hmm.
We try not to use the water that much.
Yeah, probably a good strategy.
So I will be unshaven and gross for the duration of the weekend, I guess. I don't know.
Which is just another word for Saturday.
Yeah. So that's good. It's good stuff.
Although maybe I should be nicer to you because, Paul, I came to a very serious conclusion or potential conclusion. This is playing out in my head very poorly, but I suspect this might be happening. Okay. So we are in officially what I like to call iPhone season, right?
Yes.
There's an Apple event, I think we can all agree, happening sometime probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. That's probably a safe bet, right?
Yep.
So the logic on the interwebs is that they're probably not holding it on the second week of September like they had in the past because that's 9/11 and it's probably not a good day to launch a new phone.
There you go.
And so
that day's haunted now. It's like the number 13 in a hotel floor,
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so a lot of people are thinking that it's going to happen on September 12th, that's the Wednesday right after. It's not a bad day. That's about when they did it last year, which means based on their historical predictions here, Paul, that pre-orders would go open on the 14th, 2 days after, and that the phone would ship 2 weeks later on the 21st.
Interesting. Wait, that's 2 weeks later?
Yep. Or no, a week later, sorry.
Okay.
The following week, I
yep.
believe.
Okay.
So that's the logic currently, and here's my conundrum, Paul.
Yep.
I'm not going to be home on the 21st.
No, you were not.
So I had this crazy thought, very, very crazy thought, of having my phone shipped to you because you will be coming down that Sunday.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, of course.
But my moral dilemma here is, Paul, I mean, it's not like you to hold things over my head or hostage until you get something that you want. And if you have my phone and potentially my new watch, I just
Yeah,
suspect you're
yeah,
not just
yeah.
going to waltz down there and just hand them over like a nice human.
Um, I would never hold that over your head. It's too expensive. Um, I don't know. Well, I do know why I thought of this, but I was on a road trip many years ago, and a new version of the Xbox 360 came out, which I bought,
Mm-hmm.
and it arrived at home. And like when you get stuff, you take pictures of it in the box, you unbox
Yep.
it, whatever. I got home and the box was ripped to shreds, like a wild animal had gotten at it, and my son had seen it and decided to open it.
Mm.
It was a little kid or whatever at the time, and I was like, so I didn't. I've never physically hit a child, but yeah, I was not happy.
Yeah. So this is what's going on. I don't know, like because the bigger
I would
issue,
say it's a solid plan.
um, because if my wife and kid are coming down, so that's the big problem is that I
Yeah,
can't
if
just
they were home, they could.
they would just
Yeah.
grab it off the front porch.
Mhm.
Now, in theory, I could have my brother come over and get it.
Mhm.
But that doesn't solve the problem because then I want to get my phone till Wednesday, and I don't know if I can wait.
I mean, this is similar to the problem I had coming home from Sweden, where I had to order the replacement for my previous phone. Right, because of the problems I had. They gave me a 72-hour window to place the order. I looked at ordering it the first day, and I realized if I did it right then, it would come before I got home. But if you applied the same amount of time to the trip and went forward 72 hours, I'd get it after I got home. So that's what I did. I literally set a reminder 70 hours-ish after I got the email. I ordered it. And then the thing, of course, arrived on the day we were flying home, like one business day early, or, really 3 days early because of the weekend. So I had to arrange for my neighbor to do what same thing. Because of course, they left a $1,000 phone sitting on my porch with no signature. Why wouldn't they?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the big conundrum right now. Of course, we don't really know what Apple's going to do, but I think that's a pretty safe bet. Sometime it's going to happen in September, so it's
also a safe bet. You're going to see an iPhone, whatever first impressions article appear on Thought.com on that Friday. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, the best title would be "Unboxing Brad's Phone."
Yeah.
And I would get a serious chuckle because I'll tell you what, if that even happens, I don't even care. I would laugh hysterically.
We're
flying down to Disney, and if the first thing I'm just scrolling through Twitter, I just
no.
Unboxing Brad's phone.
I would not want someone to do that. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, which is the number one reason why I hate buying stuff at the Apple Store, because they always try to unbox your crap. They will.
That makes me crazy. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And these days, I get it. Like, people want it to be all set up and stuff, and it's like,
Yeah. I am not one of those people. I would like to. I want my fingerprint to be the first.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Somebody recommends that I just ship it to the hotel, but that's a pretty dicey proposition right there.
So oddly enough, I've also done that. I'm not going to remember what model it was off the top of my head, but I was in Los Angeles for I guess it would have been a PDC at the time. It was an iPod. Must have been not the Shuffle. What was the little the Nano? And it was when it was kind of tall, and had the little postage stamp size screen, and I put it down on the ottoman in my hotel room. It arrived. I got it. And so I started taking pictures of it. So, of course, you're being really careful with it, not because you don't want to scratch it, but because you're taking photos of a brand new device. You don't want to get fingerprints on it. So I'm being very delicate with it. When I pulled that thing off of the ottoman to flip it over, I scratched the back on the couch.
Fantastic.
Like that thing was like so fragile that it scratched from the scratchy fabric on like a couch ottoman thing. I couldn't believe it, I hadn't even turned it on and it was already scratched.
Yeah, but that was your fault because you are an Apple user and you shouldn't complain about this. I don't know. I was,
Weird.
Yeah.
Look this up. I'm sure if you look this up, if you Google what I just said, you'll find my, pictures and explanation of what I just described, because I was taking pictures specifically to be like, hey, here it is.
Yep. Yeah, other fun things that have cropped up. Now, I know someone's going to write in and say you can do this with third-party stuff, but out of the box, Paul, you cannot disable Bixby on a Note 9 because that's what people want after paying $1,000 for a phone is a third-rate assistant jammed down their
Yeah, I read a review of this device recently where what it kind of boiled down to was like the screen is amazing and the Samsung screens are amazing, but there's these things, that I just kind of ruin it, and you shouldn't have those experiences on $1,000 phone, and that's one of them. The other one is just that the camera is not an improvement over the S9, which was great, honestly, but it's also not better than what Apple did with the iPhone 10, which is a year old, or what Google did with the Pixel 2 XL, which is a year old. So it kind of takes the luster off of this for me. And that Bixby thing, that is just...
You know what Android needs is a button, and they would never do this. That in the settings, you just click it, and it's just called stock. And you hit, it's like almost like refreshing Windows 10. You can open it up when you get a new machine, and it gets rid of all the crapware other than the apps that are forced to download, like the stupid Disney ones and whatever.
Yeah. I'd love that. That would open up my possibilities nicely.
Yep. And then speaking of possibilities, Paul, Microsoft is saying today, and this was a fun post to write, basically because Twitter kind of lost their minds over it, that Skype for Business and Teams are now feature complete or feature parity. So just go ahead and dump Skype for Business and just move on over to Teams, unless you're a Twitter user and you're basically saying that Microsoft's full of crap and there's a lot of features that are not actually there or functioning.
Yeah. It's just like that new Skype client that they try to jam down everyone's throats on the consumer side. And it's like, guys, this doesn't do everything the other one did. This reminds me of like nuclear parity between the United States and Soviet Union in like the 1980s or something.
Oh my God.
I mean, like, what are you talking about? It's like two terrible things that are just alike,
But the important thing is that when they explode, we're all going to die.
Yeah, same thing with Skype,
Well, that's actually what I was talking about. Because Skype is going to kill me. It's going to be, here lies Brad, it's Skype's fault.
So you know this because you were in the conversation, but this morning I went to post an article on Petri.com and I got some kind of a weird error. So I wrote you guys and I was like, hey, this happened and, whatever. I've never seen this error before. And then while I was waiting for somebody to respond, because Tim's on a different time zone, so I knew it could be a while, started kind of playing around with it. And I at some point I was like, well, I should save this thing to the site so that if, whenever the problem's fixed, I can come back and post it. And that worked. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Because, you know this, but people listening might not know this. We have certain requirements for certain kinds of posts. So like if you have if you post a podcast, you actually have to have like a URL for the video or for the media or whatever it might be. And, if you don't have that, it will actually kick it back and say, no, you can't do that. You have to, fill this thing out, whatever it was. Anyway, I saved it and I was like, oh, what the hell? I'll just publish it again. And it worked. I was like, that's kind of weird. So we were kind of having that conversation about this. And this is what Skype is to me. It's like, I don't change anything and it just randomly stops working, right? So the Skype version of that is like audio levels or audio device selection in Skype. I never screw with that. I never change anything. It's not like I'm plugging things and unplugging and flipping dials over on my USB mixer or whatever. But every once in a while, Leo will sit down at the console, or Andrew will, or you will, and you'll be like, you're a little low. Or for some reason, your video seems to be shifted off to the side or whatever the problem is. And it's like, guys, I have never changed anything. And that's the stuff. If I had to identify the one thing that bothers me the most about technology, just generally, it's that kind of thing. Like, it's computer science. It's ones and zeros. It should always be the same. And it's...
You're saying it's a hard computer science problem?
I'm saying it might be black magic. I don't understand it. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I got nothing for you because it happens to me all the time, especially with this setup that every time Skype updates either, I'm using the desktop app because I can't use the store app yet. Every time it updates, I hold my breath because who knows what's going to change on the other side of the install. And oftentimes it's not good news.
We this came up briefly, I think, the other day because you mentioned that you were going to wait to use the next version of iOS until you got your new phone. And I think I had made a comment, but if I didn't, it's true that, generally speaking, I found over many years now that the iOS betas have been very stable. and
Yep.
they don't cause any problems and whatever it was. And so, but man, I got to tell you, the past 4, 5, 7 days, whatever, on the iOS beta thing, it's been stable. It's fine, but the number of times they've updated these devices is insanity. And I'm not going to get this right off the top of my head, but in the span of about a week, we've kind of gone from beta 8 to 9, back to 8 to 9 again, and now to 10. And it's like, if you ever want to feel, maybe good about Microsoft or whatever, because we have a lot of experience with how things can go wrong on that side of the fence. This week has been really strange. Like, I've downloaded an amazing number of betas, and I just get the feeling like all they're really doing is fixing the problem the previous one caused.
Yeah, I mean, Windows is kind of the same way.
Yeah.
I fully expect them to. I mean, we all know that Redstone 5 is done. I mean, it's in the oven baked. They're just doing the little thing where they dip the toothpick in it and pull it all the way out to see if it's completely cooked through.
See if there's any like Windows Mixed Reality stuck to the toothpick. They can just wait until that's done.
Problem is, I don't know if that thing's ever done. It's amazing. I just got a notification for my Amazon package, which is just delivered, which is about 6 feet that way, and the bastards didn't ring a doorbell.
You need like a trap door under your welcome mat where it just opens up and it's like a little chute that comes down to the basement.
So funny enough, that is completely doable at my house because for whatever odd reason. So we have a porch like most homes do. And under that porch is a small room. My wife and I kind of refer to it as the death room because it's just a concrete room right under there.
Okay.
But it's also where the water comes into our house. That's where the water shutoff is. It's fine. But it is literally under the porch. So I could actually just carve a hole through and then someone steps on that and falls in.
That would be the liability there.
A little bit, but the humor value would be great because then I could be like, you didn't ring the doorbell.
It's like the Mr. Burns trap door from The Simpsons.
Yeah, he'd almost come down into this podcast studio. It'd be right on the other side of the wall. It'd be great.
I let you in because I have to sign for the package.
Fun. Other fun things are that Android now supports this guy, which is kind of good, I guess. Unless I thought I saw you tweet that it doesn't support Fortnite.
Not yet. So when they released Fortnite on Android, they revealed that at some point in the future they're going to add Bluetooth controller support. It's funny. I don't know if it's funny, but I did connect the phone to my OnePlus 6 because it's the newer phone with the newer processor. It should perform better for games. I tried Fortnite on my Pixel 2 XL whenever that first came out, and the performance was terrible. It's unplayable. So I thought, well, maybe I'll give it a chance again. And then while doing that, I looked it up and I realized it's not going to work anyway, but maybe someday soon. So I was able to connect my Xbox controller to the OnePlus 6, but the OnePlus 6 is not running Android 9 Pie. It's running 8 point something with, the OnePlus stuff on top of it. So actually it worked. I haven't played it, used it with a game, but it connected fine.
Interesting. From the chat room, Kevin H says lots of rooms he calls it a cold room, which would make somewhat sense. I guess it is always cold in there, and it's creepy.
Serial killers also have a room where they ask her to put the lotion in a basket.
Didn't think we were going there, but here we are, folks. Welcome back to First Ring Murder Daily.
Yep.
It's funny. Well, I don't know. It's funny because the room that's directly this way is actually a bathroom, but it's all concrete. Like the wall, not like the ground is concrete. Like the walls are concrete. If there's ever a tornado, I'm going into that room, and I'm going to.
It's like part of the foundation of the house.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
When they pour, that doesn't make sense though because this is a block foundation house, but they just built. I don't know. Maybe they were expecting more tornadoes in the Cincinnati area when they built these homes back in the 50s. But it's got a concrete ceiling, walls, and everything. So
yeah, no, it's good to have.
Yeah, it's good to, if we got to hold out here for a couple days, that would be the place to be. And what else? Why did I put my microphone in front of the show notes? That's real smart. I'm like looking.
Why do I have excrement on my basement floor? These are the questions of the day.
These are all very fair and valid. Some worse than others. But for HP, though, it sounds like they had a pretty good quarter. Is that right?
They had a great quarter. And, I don't know the exact percentage, but something like 80% of that business is PCs. And so good news, right? And for some reason, their CEO felt the need to actually crap all over the PC industry and on Windows 10, which kind of sent their stock tumbling last night. But I haven't gone back yet and listened to their post-earnings conference call. I should probably do that. But he told CNBC that the only reason they were able to keep the revenues up was because they're selling more expensive computers. This is in line with the theory that gaming PCs and other premium PCs are kind of the big niche market that's profitable now. So their average selling price per PC has gone up. But actually, as far as like growing share on a unit basis, it's not going good. And then he said, yeah, and we don't think Windows 10 is going to have the same spike as we saw with Windows 7. It's not going to be as big as with previous upgrades. I was like, dude, why would you say this? But yeah.
They did have an interesting quote that came out of there. Somebody asked them, I think it was the NVX2 or more essentially ARM, Windows on ARM. Mm-hmm. And their generic, not throwing ARM or anyone under the bus or anybody, really anything, is that they don't look at it as an alternative. They just look at the solution. They say, what are we trying to accomplish? And ARM is just another tool that they can use if they think it's going to give a better experience. So.
Well, I am not trying to dump on HP. I think they're one of the shining success stories in the PC industry, and I really like their strategy overall. But, from, 2.5 years ago-ish, when they introduced the Elite X3, I think was called the little Windows mobile-based phone system they had. I very strongly, in a very strongly worded conversation, explained to them why this was a huge mistake, and it was, of course. It should have been to anybody, but their rationale at the time was that it was this solution, right? It was a system. It was, something you could dock into a laptop case or into a dock, literally with a big screen, a keyboard, and a mouse, and it had certain advantages for companies that wanted to lock down systems and yada yada yada. And I was like, yeah, I hear you, but that makes no sense. And I think for this thing, which is a true PC, kind of obscuring the fact that it's not really a PC, right? It is. I mean, but it's not 100% compatible. Yeah. And this is where the problem occurs for the consumer, right? It's a problem for Windows 10s, but with Windows 10s, you can turn it off. At some point, you just bump into the wall. It's ARM. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to run 64-bit applications like Photoshop. It's not going to be able to install drivers for that all-in-one printer you may have or whatever it might be. And the performance is terrible, So I kind of hope they keep with it because we've already talked about this before, but there's new generations of these chips coming and so forth. But I'm sure they're not going to release any sales figures for that computer. Let's put it that way. It's not. I'm sure that one's not doing very well. Mm-hmm. I hope they keep with it because it's a beautiful machine.
Yep.
But the performance and the compatibility is just not there.
Yep. And so we will see. Hopefully the I almost called it the RT, but I mean that narrative continues, right? They had the Surface RT. They tried to do it, didn't work out. They gave up. Now they're back with just Qualcomm, and so we'll see. I
just don't know. I sort of understand why Microsoft and PC makers, I guess, would want to take the PC to this new place, make Windows more streamlined, safer, cleaner, maybe faster, more mobile, whatever it is. Like I get it. But this is like I just want to say something that's not terrible. It's like you have like this terminal patient, and it's like we can extend their life with this medicine, but I want to be really clear, this is not going to cure them of whatever they have, right? So I sort of feel like that's what in best case, that's what you're going to accomplish, right? Microsoft and these guys are going to have to go to a lot of work to make things work, to make things a little bit better. And I don't know. I don't see it's not like a game changing. All of a sudden this platform comes back. It's huge again, center of the world. That's not the end game. I just don't.
What if they just made one code base? So then they had to update the code base once for all their devices and then they could just invest in that.
I like it. Someone asked me today, they were talking about Google Fuchsia, and Google, with the most popular mobile platform on earth, is working behind the scenes to kind of replace it. That's what Microsoft did in the very early 90s when they started what was called NT in the beginning and then Windows NT. Completely different code base. It was designed to be cross-platform, which Windows was not at the time, DOS and Windows. Maybe they could do that now, and there absolutely have been efforts at Microsoft to do something like that. But again, I think you run into the same issue. The mobile thing didn't take off, right? Some people thought maybe that could have been it. The RT thing never took off, obviously. There was a little, I wrote something where I said, maybe this is the next NT, because it's like a do-over. I don't know. Maybe the ship sailed. I mean, this is what I mean. I mean, why don't we make it as good as it can be for the thing we have, and we'll just ride it off into the sunset. I don't know. I don't have the answer. I mean, I'm not saying this is a fact. You kind of have to wonder though.
The only side we haven't really looked at is I wonder if Qualcomm is pushing Microsoft in this direction at all, because they stand to gain massively if they can get it to work.
Yeah. I think Qualcomm, has a couple of imperatives. I mean, one of them is catching up to Apple, right? And the other one is not being a one-horse wonder. They want to split their efforts into multiple platforms. The PC is never going to equate to mobile, but IoT might, wearable devices might. The combination of these things could still be big.
Yeah.
It makes sense to diversify. But yeah, it requires a lot of work from multiple companies, and I don't know. I think Apple's going to have an easier time, for example, getting iPad apps to run on the Mac because they control the whole widget.
That's absolutely true. Other than scraping excrement off your floor, Paul, you got anything else going on this weekend?
I'm just praying to God that this thing doesn't destroy the laminate flooring that my wife and I put in. Those few weeks ago. Weekend, I don't know. No, I can't even think ahead. It's going to be in the 90s next week, by the way. So
I did see that, which is sad.
Enjoy the good weather. It's still summer, apparently. What about you?
Going out to dinner with the wife on Saturday, and I think that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's, geez.
Yep.
It's exciting.
It is. All right. Well, that wraps it up for today, folks. We will be back, should be back on Monday, and keep us in mind if you are headed to Ignite, because we're going to be down there doing lots of good stuff, podcasting from the show floor. We actually know the details now on Monday and Tuesday, so be looking out for all that good stuff, and we'll catch you right back here next time on First Ring Daily.
Yeah, we still have questions about meetup stuff. I gotta talk to Mary Jo about that. I have a feeling it's going to be on Sunday night that week.
Is it?
I think so.
Which, I mean, that's fine.
Because I think we're having a kind of a private event, right, on Tuesday night.
Yep.
And then we have a press event on Monday night.
Do we?
But,
probably.
Yeah. But we could probably work a meetup around that too. I don't know. So maybe Sunday or Monday night. People are starting to ask about it. We'll figure it out.
We will. All right. I'll catch you later.
Yep. Bye.